Hi everyone, Paolo here. So welcome back to my channel. So this is part 7 of my how to build an iOS app with a Django backend. On this video, we're going to learn how to make a put request and then update our backend. So this is the final product. Let me refresh this to show you that we have the balance as 37. So if I go to my stocks, we'll have an edit option and I could change the stock value to say 47 and hit save. And when I refresh here, you would see that that's updated. When I go back here, the list is updated. Alright, so let's get into it. So this is where we left off. So we created an account detail view. When you click on a view, we have this delete option here. So we're going to clean up the UI a little bit here and add a edit button here that would pull up a sheet. So let's do that. So first let's clean it up. Let's improve the UI. So at the top of this list, I'm gonna call the list style. I call group style list, and let's add a navigation title. For the navigation title, we're going to pass in the account name, and let's add a navigation bar item trailing. And for the view, we're going to pass a button with an action. Let's keep that action blank for now. And for the label, we're gonna pass in a text view. Let's call it edit, and let's save that for now. Rebuild, open that up so it looks a little bit better, and we have that edit button there. So the way we did it on add earlier was we were using state, so we'll be using the same. So this time we're gonna say show edit equals false. And for the button, we're going to change that to a show edit, and we're going to call toggle. Now for the here, we're going to call the same sheet that we called on add earlier, but this time we're going to say is presented. We're going to show edit, and then the content would be a new view that we're going to create. So for now, it's gonna be a placeholder. If I rebuild this and go here and click on edit, we'll have this view. So this is where we're going to put the update call. So it's going to be very similar to the add call. We're just going to modify it a little bit. So let me create a new file. Right click, select Swift UI view, and let's call this edit view. Cool. So there's lots of similarity to the account view, so I'm just gonna copy some of this to the edit view. So I'll add the presentation mode so I could dismiss it later. I also have the category, and there's also a asset wealth type. Cool. And I also want to add a binding now. So this binding would allow us to pass the account data from that view into this view. So it's gonna throw an error. Let me comment this out. We're not using the preview here, so that's totally fine. And then I'm gonna just quickly copy some. So I'm gonna paste it here. I'm gonna talk about it. So if I try to save this, it's complaining that cannot assign. If I expand this a little bit, name is a let constant. So each one of these, account name, account category, and balance, description, wealth type, they're all defined as let. So if you go to the model that we created earlier, you would see that these are all let. So it's a constant, it's not mutatable. So let's quickly change those to var. because what's gonna happen is we're gonna assign new values when we're doing edit. So if I rebuild this, it should allow us to rebuild this view now. Next is, if this works, I'm gonna put it on a navigation view. And just under here. Cool. So for the navigation, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna say list style and say group style list, and then navigation title. Let's say update edit account, and navigation bar item. There's some bar item, and this one would be deleting. We're just gonna call button and say cancel. And what I want to happen on here is I want to call the presentation mode, similar to what we did, and say dismiss. So if I quickly test this out and change the account detail view to now call that new view and say edit view, and we pass in the account, and we pass account, the $sign that should allow us to pass the binding. So if I go to Bitcoin and I do edit, you should see that it's now picking up all those things. So let's put that down. Let's go back, continue editing. So what I notice is the styling was here when it should be under the list view. So if I quickly rebuild this and do edit, much better. Cool. Next is we're gonna add the new button. So we had and then I'm gonna add trailing here, and for the trailing I'm gonna create a new button again, and this one would call action. It's gonna call a method, which is the put method, and for the text, let's just call it save. And let me just quickly see that that still works. Nope. So what did I do wrong? Yep, much better. So if I do this, I do that, and that should allow me to cancel. Fine. Now let's create a method. This method we're gonna call func update account, and let's put that there. Update account. So when the button is clicked, save, it's gonna call this, and it's gonna be very similar to add view to the add account, which is this one. Only difference is now we need to specify the ID of the account that we need to update, and add a encoded the encoded body for the account that just got modified. So let me get those details out. So first is the URL. So on the URL, very similar to the delete, we should have the account ID, then / and then next is we have the actual account that we got updated. So this is the account, we're just passing in this account data, and then this time we want to encode that account data that we just updated on the form. And next is we'll create the request. So on the request, the difference here is the HTTP method is now put, plus on the request section we will now have an HTTP body, which will be the encoded updated account data. And then finally we will call the URL shared data task. So if I just quickly, oops, URL session data task, it's passing the account data, and then when we get a response we're just dispatching that and then dismissing the view. And I just have some print here which I'm gonna remove, which would give me a warning here saying response is not used on any of it was assigned but it wasn't used, which is totally fine. So if I rebuild this now, if I go to my Bitcoin and click on edit, if I update this and hit enter and save, it should dismiss it. Yep, it's dismissed and it's updated. I go back to my account and that account is now updated. So if I go to Safari and update this, you would see that the record has been updated. So there you go. We managed to do a put request. For the last two tutorials, I'm gonna cover deploying our Django application to Heroku, and then as a bonus I'll try adding an image and load it inside Swift UI. So that's it for now. Cheers. Have a good one. Bye.